What's up today, guys? I know there's a lot of Civic owners out there, so we're going to do a video on how to upgrade and maintain your front brakes. Pretty straightforward. If you're mechanically inclined, you don't even need to watch this, but if you just bought one of these and you want to know everything you need and what to do and how to do it, this will be a good reference video. What you do to your own vehicles at your own home is your own thing. Again, this is just more of a reference video. So first thing you want to do, rip the wheel off, get it jacked up. Second thing you want to do, get a pry bar, pry your caliper back. Third thing you want to do, bolt your caliper. If you're changing your rotor, undo both bolts. If you're just changing pads, you can actually leave the top bolt in and swing the caliper up, and makes the job a little bit simpler. Once you get the caliper unbolted, you want to unbolt this caliper carrier. So your caliper bolts are 12 mil, these little short guys, and your mounting bracket bolts on the inside are, I believe they were 17. Yeah, 17. And once you get this mounting bracket off, then you got these two little screws that are here and here. And my tool of choice, because these are known to really be troublesome on just about every vehicle that has them, is this little tool here. This has reverse and forward, and what you do, you just put it in the screw head, shove on it, and hit the end of it with a hammer, and it just kind of shocks it and makes everything cooperate for you. So we're installing cross-drilled and slotted rotors on this today. This car is a 14. It's the exact same brakes. If you look at the other videos, my girlfriend's car, the wife's car, is a 17. And we've got 250,000 kilometers. I literally just had the brakes apart on hers yesterday, and it's the exact same gear. So all these new Civics, the front, seem to be the same for the most part, unless you've got an SI model or something like that. So we've got this nice black coated cross-drilled rotor. When you're installing these, you always want your cooling vents going this way when it's spinning. If you put this, like they're left and right specific, if you put this one on the driver's side that it's spinning this way, it won't actually cool. The way the vents are designed, it'll throw air into itself. So if you're installing cross-drilled and slotted rotors, whichever way it's spinning, you want the vents going the opposite way. So that being said, we're going to get this side back together, and when I take that side apart, we'll show you all the steps. So first step, just crack all your wheel nuts. Get them loose, don't take them right off. Once you get that done, you'll see down here the lip is extended a little farther in this one particular spot. You want to slip your jack in. So you get that up. I'll get this wheel off and continue on with the steps. $12 mil. Just crack these. I always pry the caliper back before taking it apart. That saves you from trying to do it. Tricky to get these ones started. There she goes. So I just Stick your pry bar in the hole there, and once you get it a little ways, you can just stick her in there and pry it all the way out. That's one less step you got to do when you put your pads on. So I get these 12 mils out. Caliper ties is never a bad idea, but this isn't too bad. This caliper's pretty light. Caliper's off. For the bracket. I'll get this off next. So when you get this bracket off that holds the caliper, you'll want to check these sliders and make sure that they move freely. And it's a good practice to grease them up with you know, a lubricant that doesn't break down in cold weather or such and hot. So if these are seized up, your brakes are not going to perform. Either buy a new caliper and mounting bracket, or get this on the bench and go out and get it freed up and working properly. I usually, if they're seized up, get the pin knocked out. If you get that far, then just drill this out with a drill bit, grease, and away you go. So the next step is going to be to get this rotor off, which I had some fun with the last one, so I'm going to video this one. For a little car, it was quite incredible how hard this rotor came off. So here's this little tool I was talking about. See that? They're slick. Magical little thing. That one went a little quicker. So you get your screws out. I usually try the hammer approach first. And what I found with the other side was the same thing. So what you do when they don't want to come off, as you'll see, this is where your screws come out, but you have these two other holes here, and they're actually threaded to fit a bolt through to help you push the caliper off, or push the rotor off rather. So get them started. Of course my gun's gonna go dead, so I'll have to hand bomb her. And what happens is they rust on the inside. As you'll see, the rust is falling out as you crank this. Well, that one decided to strip. That's nice. It's actually quite incredible how hard these come off sometimes. And as you can see, like, num num. So there you have it. That's how you get the rotor off. Hard part's done. Now you just got to put it back together. So, back together the same way we come apart. I like to use a little bit of this Castrol chain lube on the bolts when I take stuff apart. We grease the sliders up. They're working nicely. So we're just going to give these here a little shot. We're ready to put the mounting bracket back on. So we got the rotor back on, the caliper carrier back on. The caliper's not on yet. Next thing we're going to do is slip the pads in. And you'll notice this backing cover. I always take that off and chuck it. Here in Nova Scotia, all that does is rust and swell and makes your brake pedal spongy. So, and you'll notice one pad has a scratcher. The scratcher always goes on the inside. The inside pad puts more pressure. So we'll get this on. Then you got these funny little spring clips, which I really don't believe much in myself, but you know, they come with the brakes when you buy them. And that just locks in them holes on top of the pads to help somewhat open them. Now, if you're one of them guys that you just unbolt your caliper, at this stage you'll be going for a caliper, something to push your caliper back with. If you do it off the start like I recommend it, and you push it back all the way, see how nice that just slipped together? And the only thing you got to watch for here is make sure that the flat spot is against the flat spot groove on your caliper as you're tightening it. And generally they pretty much self-lock, but if you find it's fighting you when you're putting it back together, that's probably all the issue is. So this is pretty much the last step. Not quite though. Yeah, see, the bottom one wasn't lined up and it won't allow you to start the bolt. Now when you put the carrier on, the first piece, I recommend using a strong bar because you want that fairly tight. It's a 17 mil fine thread bolt. These here 12 mils, you don't want to go too crazy with them, otherwise you'll snap them off. So once you get both sides done, the next step you want to do is get in the car and pump that brake pedal up. And once the pedal's pumped up, the car is safe to drive again. The only other thing I might not have mentioned is when you're putting your pads in, make sure that they don't fit in tightly. Sometimes if you buy cheap pads, you got to take a grinder and just grind a little bit of the ear off. You do not want to have to tap them in with a hammer or anything foolish like that. They're supposed to more or less free float in there. So that's a brake job on the new Honda Civics. Hope you enjoyed, guys. So the last thing you'll want to do, guys, after you get your wheels back on, everything's all done, jump in the thing, go for a drive, and you want to do like 5 fairly quick stops from 50 kilometers an hour down to 10, and then you want to get her up to 90-95 kilometers an hour and do 3 or 4 more hard stops right down to 10 kilometers an hour, and that'll seat your new brakes in. Especially if you got performance brakes like we put on this car, that's the first thing you want to do. It's how you seat your pads in.